Okay.
Have you done others so far or no?
Done other people?
Yeah,
I have done JP.
gotcha.
Yeah, he was pretty hard because he got off topic a lot, so I couldn't a lot of questions. It was more just him talking about himself a lot. But that's, I mean, what you're supposed to do, pretty much. Yeah. So how have you been since Guatemala? Everything been good?
All good, man. Craziness.
Crazy.
So Morgan, your dad tell you that Morgan's pregnant, having a baby?
I think I saw that.
Okay. So we got that, and then the day after that, we got a call from our adoption agency, and they said that we got 3 kids for us. So we
Three.
got 4 new kids coming, a baby and 3 adopted kids coming in the spring.
Oh goodness, that's gonna be a lot of
Yep,
fun.
I will be. Still need some help.
Are they all gonna be raised in? Are gonna be all bilingual? All of them?
It's the plan.
That's pretty cool.
So we'll see. The kids coming from Bulgaria don't really speak too much yet. So because they're Roma, so their family spoke a different language, and now they're in a foster care family, and they speak Bulgarian in the foster care family. So the kids are kind of like between 2 languages. They don't speak too much now, anyways. So it'd be pretty easy, I think, to transition them into new languages.
Yeah. So is it still Spanish over there, or is it?
No, they speak Romanian and Bulgarian over there.
Oh,
So
that's,
they're right on the border of the countries. Romania and Bulgaria is where their town is. They're just on the Bulgarian side of the border.
is it just a bad situation over there, and you're adopting them?
Yeah, it's they come from like a neglected family, so the 3 siblings are just left kind of abandoned. So I don't know the exact backstory. I don't think anybody ever know the full backstory, but I think it's somewhat common over there for that to happen. That there's just no money. It'd be similar to like what you've seen in Guatemala. Um, some of like the really poor areas, and there's just no money. So when they have kids, if it's too much for the family, they just basically leave the kids to fend for themselves.
How long ago did you put in the adoption? Like, yeah, I don't know how that works, but like
31 months.
31 months ago. So,
Yep, over 2.5 years.
wow, that's almost 3 years.
Yep, it'll be 3 years by the time we get them.
So you have to wait like 6 more months, 5 more months.
Yeah, Morgan and I have to go over there like the end of November to start the process, and then we got to go back again in like March or April
Hmm.
to pick them up.
I don't really know how that works, but that's pretty cool that you're doing that.
Yeah, we're learning how it works. It's pretty crazy. We don't have a clue either, but every step, we figure out what to do next.
Hmm. So
So
I'll start the interview with just asking, just how have you gotten to the point you are today? Like, where did you do as a kid? How did you grow up? And then with your early 20s and young adult working situations and all that, you can just explain your life pretty much in like shortened down though.
yeah, so I'll just start like I was in the summertime, so both my parents work. So in the summertime when I was growing up outside of school, then I lived with my grandparents. So my mom's parents and my dad's parents, kind of 50-50. So like Monday through Wednesday with one set of grandparents, and like Thursday, Friday with another set, all through summer. So I think that was kind of probably my basic like start of things. My one grandpa was a teacher, so he was in the summer times. We'd always be at the library, and he was just really into like learning and just kind of piqued curiosity about things, and kind of piqued my idea of like if you don't know something, finding the answer to it. If I was curious about something, we go to the library and find a book about it so we could find the answer. And then my other grandpa was kind of like he was an excavator. He just drove like a bulldozer, so it's kind of more like blue collar. But he thought more of like hard work and stuff. We'd always be out in the yard working, and my mom would freak out because I'd be like 7, 8 years old, and I'd be out riding the lawnmower, cutting the grass. She's like, you can't do that. But, he's basically kind of, let me grow up and, kind of push me to my limits of what I was able to do as far as like work goes. So that was my summer stuff. And then once I got old enough to stay home on my own, in the summertime between school, I go to school, and then I'd do, again, the summer times, my mom was at work all the time. So my parents are divorced. So my mom was at work all the time. So I'd just kind of be on my own. But I always did well, just probably like you, man. I had like a brain that school came somewhat easy, and like the concept of school and how they test you is pretty simple. And once figured it out, I did pretty well. So my parents always kind of held me a standard of like getting A's just because I didn't know at the time, but I set myself up to show that I could do that. So then once I showed I could do that, that became like the standard. So I wasn't really allowed to go below that. And to be honest, like they didn't do anything to help accomplish that. They just said like, that's the standard. You're not allowed to do less than that. So I did pretty well in school. But outside of school, I was kind of a little bit wild, kind of did my own thing. Cause I mean, really from like the age of 14 on, I was pretty much after school and like every weekend and all summer, I was kind of on my own, just doing whatever I wanted to do. So luckily I didn't get too crazy, but, and then I don't know, dude, growing up, I guess the main thing is I kind of always, I didn't know it was like a vision or a life in our message or anything at the time, but I kind of always looked at what I wanted to do and then just found a way to do it. So for like example, senior year, when I was in high school, they had a school to work program. So you could go to school for the first 2 hours of the day, and then you could leave the last 2 hours of the day or the last like 2 classes of the day after lunch. And I was like, man, that sucks. Like, I don't want to have to wake up the time I don't want to go to school is in the morning. I don't mind in the afternoon. So I'm like, it'd be way cooler if I could just go every other day to school. So like one day I'd have 4 classes and the next day I'd just be off. So I talked to the principal, and principal was like, dude, I have no idea. Like, nobody's ever asked that. And I'm like, well, what if the superintendent is cool with it? And he's like, I guess, whatever. So I talked to the superintendent, like, hey, man, school to work thing. I'd like to be a fireman. And most of the stuff at the firehouse takes place in the morning time. So I really would have to do it this way, every other day. Principal said, if you're cool with it, he's cool with it. And the superintendent's like, yeah, I guess, dude. I don't know. He's like, I have no idea. I'm like, all right, so I'll fill it all paperwork. I'll take care of it. If you guys are cool with it. And I went to a teacher like, hey, man, principal and superintendent said this is cool. Here's what I want to do. That's just like an example of, kind of following that vision of, whatever I wanted to do. And then I went to college for a year. And after my first year in college, I was like, dude, this is such a waste of time. Like, I already thought high school was kind of a waste of time, just filling my brain with knowledge that I had no reason to remember, just to pass the test. And the college was a lot of the same thing. Besides growing up, living on your own. So after my first year of college, I told my parents, I had a full ride scholarship too that we worked pretty hard to get. So I told my parents after the first year, I'm like, I know what I want to do with my life, and college is not part of that. So I'm not going back. So they wanted to kill me when I did that. But that same thing kind of set me up to, I guess everything in my life from those points were kind of like little successes of just focusing on whatever the goal was that I wanted and then figuring out how I'm going to get there the quickest instead of kind of letting society say like, well, after 4 years of college, then you can do what you want,
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. So you
kind of kept going.
You went to the fire station. Like, at what age did you start working there?
So I was probably like 17 years old when it was called the School to Work. So it was more just a volunteer program. It was more just because I enjoyed being at the firehouse and going on calls rather than sitting in high school, for a day. So I didn't really get paid or anything. And it was a learning experience, but it was more to just be at the firehouse and go on calls and enjoy doing that,
So do you had to get your 2 years paramedic license?
Yeah. So once I left college, after that 1 year of college, I told my parents what I wanted to do. And so right away I started knocking out all the stuff. You had to go to EMT school, paramedic school, fire academy, all that stuff. So I just started knocking it out one by one, getting it taken care of so I could start actually making money and working in the field.
So at first, when you first started off as a firefighter, pretty much, did you still work the 3-day shifts, or did you have some kind of like thing that was like easing you into it or something like that? Like,
yeah, it was like every time you got a new certificate, you could do like a little bit more. So you get a little bit more, a few more shifts and stuff, and you could do more. So every step of the way kind of got a little bit better to the point where I'm at now.
Like, so when you first started it, was it like hard for you seeing all the, all the car accidents and all the calls you were going to? Was that like difficult, or like did any of those teach you anything? Like,
I think probably being in high school initially and volunteering at the fire department and going on those calls. Like, I was a 17-year-old little kid with all these grown men, and they, went on a call and they didn't really show anything. They were pretty tough. So I couldn't be the one to be, like freaking out or like, oh my God, I can't believe I saw that. So I kind of just emulated their attitude. So that probably is the first experience that I had with it. And then, since then it kind of built a little bit of thicker skin from seeing them and, having to be tough in front of those guys. So, but I mean, we see stuff all the time. I told you when we were in Guatemala, man, like the worst stuff is seeing a kid, overdose on heroin or something at like your age and seeing the family. It's just crazy, So that's the stuff that you start to see. I mean, tragedies happen and car accidents happen, but the stuff that almost seems like it should have been preventable and like just poor choices lead to terrible situations. That's what I get frustrated with or upset with.
Mm-hmm. So when did you start? So you had your firefight, you were firefighting and you were doing that for how long how long have you been doing that? So since
since I was like probably like about 10 years, 10, 11 years now.
So when did you start your real estate business, like on the side? When did you start that?
It's probably, well, now it's been about like 8 years ago, 7, 8 years ago. So I was already working as a full-time fireman when I started doing that. And basically just started because Morgan and I got married. We had a baby. Morgan was working full-time. So it was like a way to supplement the income where we could make more income without having to dedicate so many hours away from each other and away from the kids and stuff. So that was kind of the main focus, was to generate income without putting in so many hours of work, because our hours were capped, like as much money as we wanted to make, we had an hourly job. So there's only 24 hours in a day. Even if we both work 24 hours every day, our income's capped by the number of hours in the day.
Yeah, how long did it take you to build up that kind of business, like from nothing to like finally making money, like profit?
So like the first one took a whole year to do just one house, and then we lost money on the first one, so that took a whole year to do that. And I think the following year we did like 2 houses and started to kind of figure some things out and didn't make the mistakes that we made on the first one. And then after 2 years of doing it, it pretty much became pretty much like a business where things just kind of operated on their own, where like it wasn't as much learning how to do things anymore. It was more just executing what we knew. So probably after like I'd say 2.5 years before we got that thing up and running how we wanted it to be.
So you did start with Life and Air, and what year did you start that within your real estate business and firefighting? And
Probably like a year after we started the real estate business. So I'd been working full time. Morgan had been working full time. We were married. We had a baby at home, and then we were trying to add this real estate to replace Morgan's job. And it's probably like a year of doing it. And in addition to working, so I worked full time at a firehouse, 24 hours, 48 off. And then I worked part time at a firehouse, and then I did the real estate. And it was just like, I mean, the whole idea was just to make the money. But it was killing our marriage. And like I was never home. So then I was listening to speaker, and it was Sean McCloskey talk about Life and Air. And it was probably like a year into our real estate thing. And he hit like on all the points that, was all the issues that were causing problems in our life. And it just really spoke to me. So that's when we initially signed up, just in general, for like more information and stuff on it. And that was probably like 6 months later, so that I went to one of the like 3-day events or whatever, and finally started to click.
So what were the changes in your life? Did you see like just the things you learned and your work ethic and maybe your marriage and all the things that Life and Air taught you that will, like, what are the main things that changed with your life, like with Sean and Steve?
The biggest thing was that we didn't realize that like we were trying to keep up with the Joneses, as that quote is, but we were, we bought a bigger house than we needed. We had Morgan and I and a baby. I mean, we could have lived in like a 700 square foot house, no problem, but we had some 3,200 square foot house because that's what, we could technically afford the payment. We both had new cars because we both worked and could afford new cars. So we didn't like realize, we thought that was stuff that we wanted, but we didn't realize what those things were like robbing our life of. So we thought we wanted a big house and new cars and, all this stuff, but like our relationship was failing. So we never put 2 and 2 together that, these payments and these nicer things that we thought, were important in our life was destroying our relationship. We never like correlated that one thing had an effect on the other. So the first thing we did was really look and see like what was important in our life. And then anything that wasn't helping us reach our vision, we got rid of. So we sold both our cars and bought cheaper cars that didn't have a payment. We sold our house and bought one of our rehab houses. So
you have a real estate business and you built that up. I just want to know, like, how do you run that business on the side? Like, are you the owner of it, pretty
Yep.
much? And so, how do you have employees, or do you do it all on your own? And how many houses do you sell a year?
So now we have quite a few different contractors. I'd probably say like 7 or 8 contractors that we work with all the time. We do like 10 to 12 houses per year, and then I run all of the paperwork stuff of it. And then my dad kind of is the general contractor that manages the crews. But our contractors do all the work, and then my dad just manages to make sure, the plumber comes when the electrician's done and the painter comes after the drywall guy's there. So he just manages the schedule to make sure everybody's there on time. So that's pretty much how it's just run now. So we buy a house and then we start bringing one contractor in after another to do, whatever their job is going to be. And then when the house is done, then Morgan and I list it for sale.
So you started with Life and Air, and when did you like start with the missions part of Life and Air, or the just missions in general?
Yeah, I don't remember, like 4 or 5 years ago now. So when we started with Life and Air, we heard about the Guatemala trip and stuff. That was like one thing that Morgan and I talked about. And we wanted to do it, but like I said, we had the house and the cars and stuff. Like we just didn't have money to just go on add another like $2,000 to go down to a Guatemala trip. But we knew we wanted to do something like that. And we just wanted to experience it. We didn't really know why. We just, thought it'd be cool to have that experience. So once we got in a place, it was probably like a year later that we got in a place that, that was affordable for us and stuff. So then we just signed up for the trip, for the 1 week trip. And I think that's probably the first year you were down there too. It was our first time.
What were your motivating factors like because now you're doing 2 or 3 months at a time down in Guatemala and working with the school. So what were the motivating factors to go down there and help Guatemala, and like what has it taught you?
Yeah, there was really not any other motivating factors than just the fact that like it felt right. We felt like that was like where God wanted us to give back. So I mean, we knew that it's important to give back and take our blessings and bless other people. And for whatever reason, God put us down there in that 1 week trip, and we just kind of fell in love with it, and it just very quickly felt like home to us. We loved the city. The people were awesome. Our kids, especially the first time we brought our kids down there and seeing them, just kind of seeing them grow and seeing them just be normal kids and, not be attached to technology or anything, but just playing in the streets and seeing them have no barriers at all as far as like, Maddie has no idea how much her friends down there make or what their living conditions are. And even if she does, she just doesn't care. They're best friends. So to see those relationships grow, just, for whatever reason, that came into our life, and then we kind of fell in love with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's nice to be able to give back where, we can afford to actually make a difference. Like for instance, like I wish we could do more for cancer research, for instance. But like, man, my $1,000 donation to cancer research, it's such a minimal impact in the grand scheme of things, where I could flip a house here and make $20,000, and like I could literally change somebody's entire world with $20,000 down there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So you have the real estate business. You're also a firefighter, and you do Life and Air, and you do missions, and that's a whole lot of work. Like it's probably nonstop most of the time. How do you like balance all that and keep yourself motivated to work all the time in everything that you do?
Yeah. The biggest thing with balancing is just the prioritization. So my wife and kids, we try to make sure that they come first. Our family comes first and the kids come first, and then work comes second. So I'd say typically it goes kind of family first, and then firehouse is my schedule. Like I have to go there. That's what really pays the bills for us and, gives us insurance and stuff. And then after that, it's probably kind of real estate and mission work. So Morgan kind of more handles a majority of the mission stuff as far as like the logistics and the actual like time that needs to be put into it. And then I handle more of the real estate stuff. But we just have it set up where kind of at any moment's notice, real estate or the mission work can be scaled back quickly, if we need to get more time back. So we just try to make sure that those don't take over our life. But the big thing too, man, is like we love doing all this stuff. So that's why it doesn't really feel like, I honestly don't feel like I work very much at all, because we really do enjoy doing like every part of what we have in our life now. Anything that we don't enjoy, we kind of got rid of. So when you're working a ton of hours, but it's enjoyable and you're having fun, you know, it doesn't really feel like work. It's more like a hobby. It's something that brings enjoyment anyways.
So I may be wrong, but I heard that you were like converted to Christianity at a Life in Your event once. Was that correct?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up going to church and stuff. I grew up Christian, but never really understood. Kind of grew up old school Christian, like in a Lutheran church. So I never really, you know, I knew the right thing, but I kind of always had my doubts and didn't really buy into it. I mean, I went through the motions because my mom wanted me to, but I never really understood it. The Bible is kind of like foreign to me. You know, I felt like, I never even tried to read it because I just felt like it was like vows and arts, and I'm like, I'll never be able to figure out what they're even saying anyways. You know, I don't need to read that. So then at Life in There, one of the 3-day events in the morning, Steve used to do like a devotions time, just kind of tell his story and stuff. And yeah, just whatever it was, dude, that's like when the Holy Spirit hit me.
It was like an awakening, kind of like a.
Yeah, just like, it was crazy, dude. Like tears to my eyes and like, holy crap, like it all of a sudden made sense, you know. And it wasn't like a preaching thing, or it wasn't like a, you know, give your heart to Jesus moment of like somebody telling me to do it. It's just like hearing the story and, you know, hearing everything. It was just like all of a sudden, like whenever God felt, all right, this is the time, you know.
Mm-hmm. So you at Guatemala, you kind of talked about to me like about the heroin and the drugs and all the stuff that you would should stay away from. And
Yeah.
so what would you teach someone like me that is kind of stupid and doesn't really know a lot? What should I stay away from, and what should I what should I stay away from? What should I gear more towards as I grow older?
I think the biggest thing, man, like even at 16 years old, you already have the discernment. You already have like the good guy on your shoulder and the bad guy. So I think the biggest thing is just to follow the voice of that good guy, even if it seems less fun sometimes, or like it doesn't make sense, to follow that discernment, you know, I would say it's what the Spirit's guiding you to. Everybody have kind of their own thing, you know, like they have the picture of the angel on your shoulder and like the devil on the other. So I'd just say, man, follow that angel on your shoulder, because when you're 16 years old, the hardest thing is to actually follow the right voice. You know, I mean, you know, in your head, when you're about to make a decision, you know whether it's right or wrong. And, you know, typically if you make the wrong decision, it's just because you chose to override that voice saying like, this is wrong. And so I would just say that you're smart enough, man, to know right from wrong at 16 years old, and you're a smart kid anyways. So there's going to be a million choices that you make in your life. And, you know, I could say like heroin, if you want to use that example, is like a very obvious one. So when you're about to make that choice, like, you know, for sure that's a wrong one, but there's going to be a million little choices that you're going to make by the end of today that, you know, there's a right decision and a wrong decision. And if you just always follow that discernment, it'll bring you to places like you never even imagined.
Okay, so you said about college that you went for 1 year. So you got a full ride scholarship to what college did you get a full ride to?
Buena Vista University.
So you Wisconsin, right? You live in Wisconsin, right?
It's in Iowa. Yeah.
Iowa.
Yeah.
So what's your ideology like on college? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? Do you think it's a waste of time? Do you think the student debt is just a waste? And do you think that get stuff out of it?
I think man, I think two parts. I think first of all, like I said, you got to follow that voice. So that voice is going to tell you truly what you want to do with your life and where you want to go. And if that includes something that requires a college degree, so like if you just have this calling and you're like, man, I just want to be a doctor, like I know that I want to be this doctor and do this, it requires college. You know, there's no way around it. So if you follow that and you go to college because you truly want something that requires a degree, then I agree with college. If you're going to college just because everybody else is, and every commercial out there tells you, you know, you got to go to college to get ahead, and you're going to figure out what you want to do with life, that's definitely the wrong reason to go to college. You know, that's not the purpose. And then on the other side is, let's say if you decide, yeah, I want to be a doctor, like that's just the calling. I know I want to do that, so I need to go to college. College has a certain value. So if there's 100 colleges in Tennessee, and 20 of them you can go to for $10,000 a year, and 20 of them cost $50,000 a year, and the rest fall somewhere in the middle. The value of education for what you're going to get, you want to find the best value. Just like you want to find, the best car that you can for the money. You bought your car. There was only a certain value that car was worth. If somebody said it's going to cost $50,000, you never would have bought your Juke. But you felt like, this is a fair deal. I'm paying a fair price for it. I'm going to buy it. So if you do have to go to college to do what you want in life, you need to find where that fair value is. So if you say, I want to go to a good school, I think like $10,000 to $15,000 a year is probably a fair value for the education that I'm going to receive. Then you need to do that. You don't want to go pay $50,000 and just sign up for debt when that's not really the value of what you're getting.
Yeah, because I'm kind of at a crossroads right now because I would like to go. I don't want to go to college because I know I would like to do real estate, but at the same time, maybe if real estate doesn't work out for me, and then say I start at 18 and I see it's not working, and at 20 I try to go to college and college kind of falls apart. I don't want my life to just kind of fall apart at that point. So if 18, I wanted because I know next year I will be doing community college, which is free in Tennessee, which is cool. But if I wanted to pay for college, I know I'd want to get most of my college paid for by scholarships and stuff. I'm just at a crossroads because I kind of want to do it just because everybody else is doing it. And like you said, that's kind of the wrong reason to go because I don't really know what I would major in. But it's coming up on me. I got a year and a half to think about it because I have to make that decision quickly if I don't right now. So it's just kind of hard for me to choose whether I would like to follow my dad, do real estate, or maybe go on a different path, but still stick with the real estate. But at the same time, I probably get more knowledge out of getting a real estate mentor at 18 and going to classes and taking real estate classes. It's just kind of hard for me to choose.
Well, it's kind of like two-sided, man, because you don't want to grow up too quick either. You don't need to be some real estate mogul tomorrow. You can wait, but you can also do both at the same time. So you can grow up and go to college. You could go to a college that costs, there's colleges in Tennessee that cost $10,000 a year where you can go and you can have a good time and grow up, and you can take the minimum amount of classes, take 12 credit hours. It's only 4 classes. You can knock those all out in one day. You could take a Tuesday, Thursday schedule where you only go to class on Tuesday, Thursday, and just focus on Monday, Wednesday, Friday doing something real estate related. Wholesale houses in that town to cover your cost of college, or go find some rentals, or don't live in the dorms. Buy a house there and rent it out to 5, 6 of your buddies. You'll have a great time. You'll love it, and you'll be learning the real estate side of it at the same time. Making some cash flow. So I think you could go to college, and I think you could use real estate. Ask your dad to go through it with you. I'm sure he'd have a million ideas. If you said, I want to go to college, it's going to cost $10,000 a year. I'm going to take, I'm going to make sure I have enough free time to do real estate while I'm there. So, what real estate, if you're asking your dad, Dad, what real estate would you suggest that I do to cover my cost of college? So the goal is, $10,000 to $20,000 per year. Your dad would have a million ways for you to make $10,000 to $20,000 per year. So you can go to college and still live that dream, and college can be more of like your hobby then instead of like your direction of life. And you're using real estate just to enjoy that part of life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So now you're adopting 3 kids, and you have on the way. So that'll be 6 kids you'll have. So in what way would you want to raise all those kids to be the best they can be? Like, how do you want to, what morals do you want to put into them?
The biggest thing is some of them just like honesty and always, making sure that they don't take things for granted. I think one of the biggest things for us in the United States is that we just are so blessed. We're like over blessed, almost to a point where I think the devil probably uses what he gives us as like a tool to get us to stop living for God, because we have so many resources here that we feel like we're in control. We feel like we can accomplish whatever we want. And it kind of throws us off the path to realize that we're blessed here for a reason, and it's up to each of us to figure out why we're blessed with what we're blessed with. Always being honest and just being a good person, and then, like I said, figuring out what blessings you have in life and how you can use those blessings to better the world. And then the biggest thing I think for Morgan and I raising our kids is just, these 6 kids are going to have 6 different personalities and 6 different aspirations and dreams. So we just want to make sure we do our best to help each one of them stay focused on their aspirations and always kind of following their dreams and not forcing any of, our ideals onto them. Some of them might be into sports, some might be into music, some might, be into gaming. There's a million different things, that they could be very good at. So the hardest part will be when it's something that we don't understand, but they love it.
So about firefighting is what your main thing was at first, and I just want to know, what are the pros and cons of firefighting? Because it looks like a really good opportunity at first, maybe to start off, but like, does it lock you into,
Yep.
does firefighting lock you into like some kind of, how long do you have to be there for, how many years or so, or can you just like quit at a certain time, and like what are the pros
Yeah,
and
no, you could quit at any time. The biggest benefit is that you're not going to get fired. So you have a very secure job. There is no up and down. So even when the economy goes down or the economy goes up, you always have a job. The other benefit by far is the schedule. So same thing like I was saying with college, you can manipulate that schedule to be just beneficial to you. So if you only want to go to school on Tuesday and Thursday, that gives you 5 other days of the week to do whatever you want. And that's the same thing with the firehouse. Instead of giving up 5 days of my week every week to work in. Is that you or me?
That's my dad's thing. I don't know what he's doing.
So instead of giving up 5 days of my week to go to work, I only have to give up 2 to be a fireman. So I got to work 4 hours at a time, but it's only twice per week. So the flexibility of the schedule is awesome. And like I said, you don't make a ton of money. You're not going to be rich being a fireman, but they're going to provide awesome benefits, and they're going to provide a really good income. It's not a bad income by any means. It's very good. So when you're making a guaranteed good income and you have tons of flexibility, that's by far the biggest benefit. So, and then too, you get it's not stressful as far as a job. You get a lot of camaraderie. You get to hang out. It's like hanging out with your buddies when you go to work. So.
Mm-hmm. So that's all I got, pretty much, for all the questions I have. But
I got a couple notes here, so I'll give you some of this stuff. The one thing I was going to say about your college, dude, your parents may have a different opinion, but this is what I would say, and I get this from doing our adoption right now and stuff. I would not focus on getting scholarships. I would focus on paying for it yourself. So you're going to put in like the same amount of effort for somebody to give you $1,000 scholarship, maybe. You could put in that same amount of effort and go find a house and go wholesale a house and make $5,000 and be like getting 5 scholarships, and it'll teach you, a life skill of how to repeat that and continue to do that. So scholarships, like you're looking for other people that worked hard, and then you're kind of like showing them why they should give you their money, when you can, like, there's people that don't have the ability that you have. So there's going to be other applicants for scholarship. They don't have the ability to go flip a house or wholesale a house and make $5,000. The only option for them to make more money for school is to get that scholarship. Well, you can put in the same effort and make way more money and leave that $1,000 to somebody who doesn't have the same opportunities that you have. So, and that's kind of what we're doing with our adoption. There's a ton of grants out there, and there's a ton of, it's not scholarships, but the same idea. There's a ton of organizations out there that will give you money towards your adoption, but we have the ability to go flip a house and make $30,000. If we really want to put in that amount of time. There's other people out there who want to adopt. They just don't have that ability. They make the amount of money they make and they work hard, but they don't have the ability to go make another $30,000, next month. So that's kind of the route we've taken on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, I guess I could do that. But scholarships are they're cool, because Tennessee has their own scholarship thing. If you go to a 2-year thing, you can get a scholarship to go to Memphis or so. But I haven't really wanted to. I haven't looked into colleges. I haven't really wanted to go. So I'm not seeing. If I was really devoted, hey, I wanted to go to college, I probably would try to get money and then get some scholarships, like 50-50.
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying, because it might be easier just to flip a house, wholesale a house with my dad helping. Then
it takes a lot of energy and effort to get a scholarship. It's not like you just fill out paperwork and get it. It's still really difficult. So, and that same amount of time and effort. What's that?
With my grades right now, I'm not really going to get a scholarship. Don't have a 4.0 GPA. So.
Well, then even more so. It's even more difficult. More time and effort has to go into trying to get it, So I'm going to look at my notes here real quick. because you asked me a few questions in an email that didn't come up now. So I'd say the biggest thing, you said, how did I become the man today that I am, in your email? So I'd say probably the biggest thing for me was listening to mentors. So finding people that I actually looked up to. I mean, a lot of people try to give you advice, and sometimes you like look at that person and you're like, dude, like, I don't respect you, so I don't want your advice. And you're going to have, 10 of those people. So there's always going to be one person who you're like, man, that guy, I really do appreciate what he has to say and look up to him. So when you meet those people, listen to their advice and actually take it. So I had like a pastor when Morgan and I got married who was really influential and kind of like guided our marriage and really gave us the tools that just nobody else did. It was really helpful. Obviously, life in there had a huge impact on us. And then like once I started to understand and read the Bible and actually knew what the heck was going on and what I was reading, then I just, kind of look for the passages where Jesus was actually speaking and giving advice, and kind of use that as a mentorship, when he says specifically, here's what I, want you to do, because it just correlates so well to our life today still.
I do have a question about that. So what is the best teacher, mentors or experience?
So both. So a mentor should be there to guide you through your experience. So you start going down a path, and the mentor is there when you say, hey, I'm stuck. Where do I go from here? And the mentor's already done that. So he says, here's what I would do. And then you overcome that obstacle, and then you continue going on the path on your own, gaining experience until you hit an obstacle and you go, all right, I don't know what to do now again. I'm going to ask the mentor.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I've gotten different answers with that question from my dad, JP, and you. The other answers have been, they're both good. Experience, I think personally, experience teaches you better. If you go through something and you have to overcome it yourself, I feel like that would teach you better. But my dad thinks that mentors, you don't want to go through that experience. So since they've already been through it, they can help you avoid it and just make yourself better. But I think experience teaches you never to do it again, really. Like if you go through something really bad, say like you do a house and you just totally bomb the house, like you don't make any profit, and you learn from that experience what you did wrong. You kind of fix those little mistakes, and then the next house should be better. You should make profit. You should start working better on every single house that you do, but like make mistakes on, you fix those.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of a hybrid. I think you got to make those mistakes, but then when something big comes up where it's like, man, if I make the wrong choice here, it could be really bad. That's when you say, hey, man, I'm stuck here. What do I do in this situation? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see what else here I got for his notes. The other thing I was going to tell you, the biggest thing in our life, and I kind of touched on it without summarizing it, is to focus on freedom. So a lot of people focus on money and they want to make, a ton of money, and they don't really understand. They just, think I'm going to get a new car, I'll get a big house. And like I told you, dude, that's where we were. And then we had to backtrack and get out of there. So if you just always realize, man, that money's sole purpose is to buy you freedom. That's the only purpose it is to buy you more time. So if you focus on freedom, then you won't buy stupid things, because that's just going to take away your time when you have to commit to work for them. When you focus on doing something, same thing as scholarships versus working. The whole idea is just to spend less time and make more money. So if you focus on more freedom and what's going to be the quickest, most efficient way, to accomplish this, that's just kind of the thing. So I want to see what else I got here. And then dude, when you have that freedom in your life, you don't give up all your time and you have that freedom. That's when you get to do cool stuff. Like that's when an opportunity like Guatemala comes up and you actually get to do it. Most people can't do it because their time is already committed in their life. They don't have the time to go live down there for 3 months, even if they wanted to. So when you set your life up to always be focused on freedom, really cool opportunities are going to fall in your lap, and you're going to have that freedom in your life to say, yeah, let's do that,
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing, man, along with that, dude, I would not take on liabilities like car payments, house payments. You're basically retired right now. You don't have any debt. You don't have anything. Focus on anything that comes up that you want. Find a way to buy it without debt. It just makes no sense to put yourself in a hole that you have to later spend your life digging out of. You're already totally debt free. So just keep it that way. And then where's the last thing?
That's what my dad.
Then about the debt.
Yeah, debt, and I can tell you from reading books and doing research that it doesn't work. It makes you miserable.
It does.
It's a lot of more. It's like a weight on your shoulders all the time, and it's like you always have to think about this. Okay, now I got to start pay this off. I got this thing, and that's like the average family nowadays. We have so much debt. Like I don't even know what the average debt is, but I would probably guess around 50,000 for each family.
It's probably even more than that, man.
Yeah, and the cars aren't paid off. Most of them we buy like $40,000 cars, $50,000 cars. We don't pay them. We just do them and pay them off. And houses we have mortgages, and it's just that's why I'm learning from my parents on what they do. We pay off our cars. We buy them with cash, and then we buy houses with cash, and we do everything within our budget. We don't go over budget so that we have to pay it off some other day with money we don't have right now.
Yeah. I mean, you've seen in Guatemala, like they make less than $5,000 per year, but they're all happy, enjoying things. The last thing on their mind is thinking like, man, I should borrow money to go buy a nicer car. That just doesn't serve any purpose in their life. And that's what I was kind of referring to is we're like blessed beyond how we know how to handle it. So we make, like, you can make 50,000 as an 18-year-old kid could go and work hard and make $50,000 a year, no problem. That's 10 years worth of work in Guatemala. But you're so blessed here that you think you still need more. So when you make $50,000, you think, well, I need a nicer car now. And you always think you need more when you've already made it. You make good money, you have an awesome life, but it's that like crazy dream that you always need more, you know. You're going to think you need a bigger house, you need a nicer car, like it's pushed down your throat every single day, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then with that said, I would just say that on the other side though, you know, sometimes debt can be, so we do use debt in our business. You know, we borrow money to buy a house. And basically the way we look at that is when we borrow money, we use it to make more money. So it produces income. So there's kind of two ways. If you read like a book like Rich Dad, Poor Dad or the Cash Flow Quadrant, it'll describe in there that we have to have some way to make money without working. So the only way to do that is to either have employees that can work and make money more than you have to pay them, or to have money that you can put out there to work as your employee and that can be producing income without you actually having to put in physical time and labor. That's the only two options you have, is somebody else do the work for you or money out there doing the work for you. So I would never take on debt that doesn't produce money, but that also builds a good understanding of how to use debt properly. And if you learn how to manage debt properly, then you can use money as your employee to go out there and make you more money. So you can be, you know, hanging out, doing whatever you want to do, but there's money out there literally making you money by the second, you know, like for rentals, for example. You literally sit at home and people are out working to produce money for you.
Like a self-sustaining, like a business that works on its own, like kind of.
Yeah.
It does take a while to build that up. It's not just a one-day thing. Like you have to, like my dad, it took him forever to finally get it where he doesn't have to be at the house all the time and do everything. And now he can get people to do it for him, kind of. And he does that too. He borrows money from my grandma and grandpa, and they'll pay for the house, and he'll pay them back, and he'll make money off of it. So I get what you're saying. It's a profit, and it makes you more money. It's not really. I mean, I wouldn't consider that a debt, but I guess you could because it's money you don't have that you borrowed. But I'm considering like I don't know how to put it, but like something that
doesn't produce income, something that basically, like when you take out like a car loan, for instance, you take the liability, all you're doing is saying like, you're like a little kid, dude. You're like a 3-year-old kid throwing a fit. Like, I really want this car. And they're like, you don't have the money for it. You're like, but I want it. And they're like, all right, we'll give you the money for it now so you can go buy it because you really want it, even though you can't afford it. But you have to promise to pay us back later. I'm like, okay, I will. You know, I mean, that's really what like a mortgage, car loan, any of that, using your credit card is like, it's like throwing a little fit. Like, I really want it now. And like, you don't have the money. You're like, but I want it. So
credit cards are very bad. I've learned that from Dave Ramsey and my dad and other people. They're something you don't want to get into right away.
Yep. So I think that's the biggest thing, man. Just follow that little voice in your head. Like I said, you're a smart kid. You got awesome people around you. You're going to do things, no problem. You just got to make sure you follow the correct voice in your head. You know, you're going to make mistakes. Of course, you're going to follow the wrong voice sometimes because you're going to you know, the excitement and the fun is going to outweigh the right choice. But as long as you don't make the really big ones, as long as you focus on always kind of following where your heart's taking you, and you don't put yourself in a debt situation, you know, where you have to dig yourself out. So even your dad, man, if it's taken years, most of that's because he didn't have somebody helping him show the way to do it correctly from the beginning. You know, he probably could have cut off half the time if he had somebody guiding him exactly how to, you know, accomplish it quicker. But a lot of us, we never had these conversations like you are now. So we made all the mistakes first. So half that time was spent reversing the mistakes and then starting from zero and building it back up the correct way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good stuff. So that'll help me.
You coming down to Guatemala this winter with Kavanaugh? Is your dad coming or no?
This winter?
Yeah, February.
I'm not sure about this winter. You want to say hi? I'm not sure. I haven't talked to my dad or anything about it. I haven't heard much information about it. I was thinking about coming in January, but
yeah,
I don't know yet. I have to start making money. I have to start raising and making money myself right now. I could wholesale a house if I wanted to, I guess.
Yeah. All right, buddy. What are you doing today?
Well, I have to go do some school now. I have to go do my Bible and history, and then I have to read my book.
Hi.
And I got football later today. And tomorrow I'm leaving for Arkansas to go to playing this very number one team in the country for football. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Very cool.
We'll probably lose, but I hope we still give all the effort we can to give them a fight.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, man. We'll tell your family I said hi.
Okay, I will. Thanks for doing this.
No problem, buddy. We'll see ya.
See you later. Bye.